Hello, welcome to another episode of Data in the Hallway. We have two guests joining us today. Daniel, welcome back from vacation. Good to see you.
You.
Cool. All right, so we have two guests we have coming, beaming from beautiful Turkey is Alkin Tezuysal, and then from Dubai we have Ibrar Ahmed, two authors of a new book that I recently acquired. This one right here, Database Design and Modeling with Postgres and MySQL. So yeah, this is another one of the book reports that we wanted to do. So, I mean, first of all, Alki and Ibra, welcome. I'll start with you. Alki, I'm going alphabetically
Okay.
by first name, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with database? So,
All right. Short intro from my side is my name is Alkin, as you mentioned, and I live in Istanbul, GMT plus 3 time zone. It's like everybody else knows. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us for this podcast and episode of having a PingCAP sponsoring this, and very happy to see both of you, Daniel and yourself, and my co-author Ibrar. Um, my database experience starts with 3 decades of going through all these different layers of experiences with different industries. Started the first half of it was like mostly enterprise databases. I've also even worked in corporate American large corporations, the big databases at the time. And then I made a switch to the open source databases, which mostly focused on MySQL and MySQL ecosystem. Currently, I work at Altinity as a director of services, and we manage customers with ClickHouse installations for analytics purpose. And also there's a correlation between the other open source databases for the incoming data, probably pipeline from other sources like MySQL and Postgres. And that's generally about myself. And I like sailing. I'm an avid sailor. I spend some time on my free time, and also I also use the sailboat as a boat office and spend some time in summer times. And apart from other outdoor hobbies, I really spend some time at water doing diving, spearfishing, and so on and so forth.
nice. I love your background on Zoom, so it looks very relaxing. Ibar, well, we'll give you the floor as well. So,
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for all of you to inviting us for that the book review. So I'm also really thankful to Alkin that who is a co-author with me on that book. That was a good learning journey for both of us in the MySQL and PostgreSQL world. And so as far as my database and the experience is concerned, actually I have 26 to 27 year of total experience and around 2 decades of database open source development and specifically PostgreSQL. So I have never been worked too much on other database. I'm totally a PostgreSQL guy. So it's I have contributed many things to the actual PostgreSQL community, and I worked 10 years with EnterpriseDB, which is a PostgreSQL company, and then I spent 4 years in Percona. And now I am in PG which is also a distributed and the multi-master cluster solution for PostgreSQL. So previously, I am actually based in Pakistan, but PG moved me to Dubai now. So right now I'm in Dubai, so which is hotter than Pakistan. It's still is 36 degrees centigrade now. So
oh
it's
wow.
pretty hot than in my country. But mostly people, whenever I told them that 36 or 40, 45 degrees centigrade, so wow. So that's the beauty of Dubai. So it's always
Yeah.
hot.
Wow.
So,
Well, yeah, welcome to both of you, and great to see you both. And yeah, obviously, both of you. I'm not trying to make you sound old or anything, but combined, like we have almost like a 60 year of database experience, which is amazing. So, I mean, first question on the book, what sort of brought you together to write this book? Like, what did you want to achieve from working on the book and getting it published? So, either one of you can start. So.
I'll take this one, I guess, first, because kind of I had to initiate. Although Ibrar is also author, previously authored books, again targeting Postgres audience, and he was already experienced. In the meantime, I had completed another book on MySQL cookbook, 4th edition with Sveta. We have authored a book and then focused on that for 2.5 years, which was kind of a very wide book, and it was very difficult to kind of revamp that book from the previous edition. And then I had basically an idea of reaching to other audiences with MySQL and Postgres. So that was the idea. The other one was the publisher reached out and then asked me if we can put together a book in this model. And in my research, there were books. Okay, design and modeling is not new. It's 30, 40 years, maybe 50 years old subject. There are fundamentals around database design and modeling. But there were two criteria. One of them was all the other books were kind of old, 5 to 10 years old. They were not really new publication. And the other one didn't have the new, trending topics, the cutting edge, the next gen database methodologies and ideas, but maybe people didn't think about much. So I thought that would be an opportunity to put together something. My background and experience was highly focused on MySQL, and I said this would be a great idea to bring someone from the Postgres world who actually has a dedicated life against Postgres, and actually offered Ibrar to kind of take that part and complete the puzzle in that sense. Ibrar and I had worked at Percona together for many years, and we've been in conferences and presenting and sharing our knowledge. So he kindly accepted my offer. I'll leave it up to Ibrar and how he feels.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Alkin. Actually, that's 100% the Alkin idea. I never thought about writing a book with two databases, the two open source databases, because sometimes it's conflicting. But when I talked to Alkin, I thought that that's a good idea, that we combine two open source database to write a book on that. So anybody who is from MySQL can also understand what's the alternate approaches in PostgreSQL, and who is the PostgreSQL guy, he can think about the MySQL, because nowadays people are using the multiple databases. So I have seen with the customer, they are using MySQL, they are using the big data, MongoDB, PostgreSQL, they're using multiple databases. So right now we have combined two well-known open source databases, that's PostgreSQL and MySQL. And he convinced me, actually, now I can see that that's a really good idea to do that. So
yeah, I mean, that's sort of what caught my attention too, when I mean, our colleague and the friends to you both, like Sunny Baines, pointed me to the book, because like you said, Alkin, I mean, you wrote a book on MySQL, and Ibrar, you also have experience writing a book on Postgres, but I don't think I've seen a book where it covers like both of them. And I'm not probably the least technical person in this panel. Like, if I were a Postgres, like a database person, like what would that person get out of reading a chapter on like MySQL? That's sort of made me wonder. But I think Ibra, you sort of partially answered the question. There's rarely the case where a person just working on one database, like you're typically balancing like multiple databases. You may not be expert in all of them, but I mean, and going back to that example, if you're a Postgres database person, like what do you think they will get out of like a sections on MySQL? Like, I don't know if Alkin, if you want to answer that, since you were responsible for a lot of the MySQL content, but.
Yeah, the MySQL part was like that. One of the idea was over here, which we all know, we are biased against the subjects that we know well, and then we would go after that, right? So if we know MySQL, we would be actually open for MySQL. Whereas there are other databases, there are other solutions and options in the market, right? In our system, and especially when they are open source and they're available for people to experiment, use, try, benchmark. why not do that? And then we've seen this in probably Daniel can agree. We go into like pre-sales calls or some customer engineering calls, and then people are biased again. So I wanted to break that a little bit also over here. You don't have to do it at one. There's not like there's no silver bullet into solving one thing, but there are other options you should know. Maybe you should care. And like Ibrar said, a lot of the places we touch customers in our case is they already have some solutions in their hand. They already have some technology used, but they may not know how to make it better and get to the next level. So this was the idea. And again, going back to the original subject is, again, the database design and modeling should be fundamental of database administration, fundamentals of database handling. So that's another thing. But this way, if we combine the two, we could also add other databases like TiDB and others, and let people know there is something else out there you should think about. Maybe this is what you need in the future. So this would help other people to open their eyes about the technology.
Yeah, I also think that's a really interesting idea. So someone can just pick up the book, start with both Postgres, MySQL, try a few things, see which one they like best, or which one matches the best with the project they're working on, and then continue. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, moreover, we even have when you look at that, we even have ClickHouse, like columnar database, which has nothing to do with Postgres and MySQL in the context of the book, but there is a correlation, because analytics workloads also come from OLTP workloads, and we think that, okay, there is a source of these databases that you're actually designing and will be fed to the analytics workload, for example, in the future, and you'll be reporting off of it, whether it's a real-time or dashboards or any other solution. So we want to create in the outline as more like awareness. Of course, it doesn't have a deep dive, and the book was limited in number of pages and sections, and we were able to pull this out together.
Cool. Yeah, and both of you, like in your introductions, like mention your like a contributions and experience in open source. And I think I'm looking at the book cover. Open source databases is even in the a subtitle of the book. I mean, Ibra, I'll first start with you, then we can move to Alkin as well. Like, tell us how you got involved in open source, and why is open source important to you? Like.
Yeah, actually, I think it's 2004 and 5, actually, I joined Enterprise DB. So Enterprise DB actually is the enterprise solution of PostgreSQL. That's its closed source, but actually PostgreSQL is open source. So at that time, I started working on PostgreSQL. So that's my first day to work on the open source. So I start working on the database PostgreSQL. I start contributing to the PostgreSQL community also. I also wrote multiple foreign data wrappers that actually connect PostgreSQL to different databases. So like within the PostgreSQL, you can connect to the MySQL, MongoDB, Hadoop, and any database, Oracle, you can contribute. So I wrote many extensions for PostgreSQL too, and did some performance enhancement indexing in PostgreSQL. So that's the starting journey for me too in the PostgreSQL. And also, I'm also work on the Google Chrome actually. So I wrote FTP and different protocol for the Google Chrome browser at that time for the Google. So I'm the initial one of the author of the Google Chrome. So wrote so that's the journey for me, just database and just the Google Chrome. So I started my journey in the PostgreSQL, and where I see the open source stands right now. The issue is that the community is working on the open source. That's the beauty, because specifically for the PostgreSQL, nobody owns PostgreSQL. Nobody can buy PostgreSQL. So that's the one major advantage of PostgreSQL over all the open sources. And the secondly, when community works on that, so the bug fixes and the other stuffs are really quick. So you find anything in that, you will just report on the community and they will fix it. It's not like that you have to wait for the longer release to be fixed from the company. because there is no company behind that. So the community will fix that problem and you are ready to go. Download it, use it. So that's the beauty. But there are some problem with that when you are talking about the open source, the issue is that the installation process, the configuration, that these stuff are a little bit difficult. When there is no company behind it, then this is difficulty. So that's where you hire some kind of a support staff and the DBAs to work for you. So there is some benefits and there are some disadvantages too. So now Alkin can answer more deeply.
Go ahead, Alkin.
Well, I think from the open source, my journey was basically similar, slightly different in the sense of getting into open source. I came from an enterprise world, and I've seen the hard, like the top days of enterprise databases, and I basically excelled on some of the known ones, and basically became an expert and senior level on those databases. But chance there was an e-commerce company that actually used open source MySQL, and then actually they scaled and they actually hit certain scaling issues, and they brought me in. Hey, with your experience, can we solve this with the open source world? And then I actually kind of understand what open source meant, how it can scale, and all those the toolkits, the open source tools people are sharing, solutions, and contributing without much expectations, unlike the enterprise world. Enterprise world was slightly different, and that was my experience with the open source. And then basically I wasn't able to leave that open source ecosystem and became part of it, and I love the community. Agree with Ibrar on that. Community is everything for open source, and they are equally important as the software being open source and community having its own community. We lost you for a second. Okay.
Mute.
Oh, sorry. I was speaking with the mute button. I apologize. Yeah, I think I mean, both of you kind of mentioned it's a community that sort of hooks people into open source, right? I mean, technology is one thing that may draw you into it, but I think it's the relationship that you build that makes it very sticky, and it's difficult to get away because you enjoy working with people. Yeah, I mean, let's now dive into the book. I like a layout of the book. You start with the very basics, like the basic concepts of database, like advanced techniques, and you talk about other issues like scalability. And then I think, Alkin, you mentioned early on, like the last part of the book, you talk about emerging and like a future trend. So I really like the logical flow of it, but talk to us about what each major sections, like what you cover and what the readers can expect.
Okay, let me do a real quick rundown of that. Actually, the idea was when we actually created the outline of the book, it was impossible to deep dive on certain subjects, but we wanted to give starting point from the database design and modeling with the certain concepts like the basics. Maybe today the education system is not good enough to give all of this, or people have a very easy access to information and they skip the fundamentals. And I am very fond of fundamentals need to be learning, instead of learning the database after 5-10 years of what it actually was, the logic behind why would these people worked on this and created this database. I think it would be good to read about this certain concepts and be aware of them. You don't need to be an expert on it, but Ibrar helped me put together some of these concepts what we already know for the OLTP systems that we can expand into a workflow to reaching up to emerging databases. So, but we had to squeeze a lot of that into small content because there were limitations about the books. That's another reason audience don't like large big books, and they want to actually access the information very fast. So we wanted to kind of capture as much as possible with the starting from all the way basic to coming to a massively scalable or at scale database solution like TiDB. We went through that journey. So I think hopefully the readers can actually basically understand from the beginning to the end where we can actually get these databases up to.
Yep. So also actually I 100% agree with Alkin too, that I am actually giving the lectures in the different universities since last 15 to 20 years. And last 10 to 15 years, I am giving the lecture in the different universities about the database. And the major thing is we have to give the concept to the student that what is the basics. Because I have seen that people are just installing the database and start using that. They don't know the basics, how the database works inside, how, so they need to know the basics of database. So that's why we started with very, very basic concepts. So for some people, it's boring to start with the very basics, but they can also skip that. But to achieve that, we have to go to the TiDB, PG Edge, and the other ultra high availability solution kind of stuff on databases. We have to start from the basics. So we start from the basic or go really up. And it's just 200 pages, around 200 pages kind of a book. If we want to write that book of 400 or 500 pages, that is possible to have more stuff. But people don't like that kind of a big books. So I wrote one book which is more than 400 pages, but that's tough for the people to understand and read the whole book.
Yeah, no, I certainly appreciate that. When I received the package, I ordered the book, online, and I was expecting like a 400 or 500 page books that you typically see from, not just from database, but AI or whatever the topics that you're curious about. But yeah, it's like it's a pretty compact book, couple of hundred pages, I think, like total. So I think it's like less intimidating to approach. And also appreciate like what you said about fundamentals, because I mean, we all do this. Like you're doing something with the database, you run into a problem, and you just want to solve it, right? I mean, you just like you put blinders on. I just want to get rid of this error message or whatever it is, and but it's important to sort of step back and try to figure out what's really going on. And for that, you need to understand these like fundamental concepts, or think about the fundamental concepts that you may have learned years ago, but you're not thinking about. So yeah, so I mean, even like I said, it's very logically like it flows, like starting with like a basic concept and introduction. So I appreciate you covering that. Yeah, and I also want to sort of move into the last sections of the book where you talk about new and future trends. Like, I mean, what in that particular chapter, like, what are you trying to cover? And then you talk about different databases, like you said, like TiDB from MySQL family, and like yugabyte on the Postgres side, and others. Like, what were you trying to cover in the chapter, and how'd you like select like a different databases like TiDB that you want to use as examples?
Ibrar, you want to take that?
Yeah, I will take that, but for the MySQL side, you will take that.
No
so
problem.
for the PostgreSQL side, actually, whenever we see the PostgreSQL does not provide some kind of stuff. So when we are thinking about the PostgreSQL, that doesn't provide something like, for example, it doesn't provide the multi-master application. So for the high availability solutions, you don't have a multi-master solution for PostgreSQL. So some other things you don't find in the vanilla PostgreSQL. So we want to cover, there are companies like yugabyte, PG Edge. PG Edge also provide, which is I'm the principal engineer in there. So we are providing the multi-master application solution for PostgreSQL. So that's above the PostgreSQL. So what I want to cover in that chapter, that what you can do in PostgreSQL is before this chapter, and what you cannot achieve and you can achieve with other software on PostgreSQL. So this chapter is for that. So that's a mix of that, where you have a vanilla PostgreSQL, and some companies have some extensions, some other bridges over the PostgreSQL. So you can achieve that kind of a capabilities for that. So that's the chapter for actually what I have seen in my point of view.
Yeah, I think very good point on that. I think where we reach again, if we start the baby steps from the very beginning of, install and access to both MySQL and Postgres to get to scalability challenges, sharding covered, and then going to the solutions that those are available. And of course, there will be more. There might be more options there, but from our, open source community experience, the conferences that we go speak, the people that we discuss or brainstorm, we are aware of the adoption to these new technologies. We are aware of what, like, I can tell, I mean, you already know, I can tell what companies in the market migrated to TiDB, right? So this is something we know, and we want other people to know that, okay, when you reach to certain scalability, certain limits beyond the regular, database installations or some of the basic DBaaS solutions or relational database services, you can actually you're not like limited to one thing. There are other options, and this can be a good idea. I think from the book perspective, if you look at it, if I was a MySQL person and very biased on it, and I end up on a job that's Postgres, and there's no possibility of changing their ecosystem, I should know what's out there. I shouldn't be like locked up in one solution and basically out of the box solution. Maybe I need some sharding, then I'll bring Citus into the picture. I need, Kubernetes scaling, I'll bring Yugabyte into the picture. So things like that are possible. That's what we wanted to highlight. It's kind of a hidden message at the end of the chapter to get to do. So hopefully readers will understand better it that way.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting read, because you even talk about some of the emerging features in MySQL, right? To address all these the features that you require in typical enterprise environments with the data is continuing to explode, and you have these challenges that when MySQL and Postgres, they started decades ago, the challenges they never even really imagined back then, right? So there's a natural evolution of different technologies that are coming to fore. So yeah, I appreciate you sort of laying out a different alternatives that people can look at and think about. So
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
Hopefully
So
we didn't
yeah,
leave
I mean,
too many out within the limitations, but as much as we could cover, we wanted to
Right.
give people a heads up on, go
Right.
check these out, make sure that you're
Right.
aware of these technologies.
Yeah, cool. Well, and then there's your new book. If you see new technologies that crop up, or new challenges that people start encountering. So cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'll in the podcast description, we'll provide a link to the book, and how you can get your own copy. So if you're interested in reading more, you'll have that information. Daniel, anything else that we forgot to ask, either Alkin or Ibrar, or that you can think of?
I think it's quite complete. So I think we discussed about learning stuff, scalability. I think the book also mentioned security in quite some good detail, which is nice,
Right.
and all the things that you need.
Right.
So I think it's quite complete.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, glad you brought up security. That's obviously always a popular topic that people bring up, especially with enterprise customers. It's probably like a top 2 questions that people ask. So yeah, cool. So yeah, I think we reached the end of the questions regarding the bug. So the last question we have for all of our guests is sort of become our tradition. I mean, as we said at the beginning of the episode, Alkin, you mentioned that you're in Istanbul. Ibra, you're in Dubai. And Alkin, I think you're our second guest from Turkey, but first I think the other guest was from the southern coast of Turkey. Tell us something about Istanbul that you're very proud of, or something that people may not be familiar with.
This is for Istanbul specifically. For Istanbul, it's a very Ibrar has been to Istanbul several times, and probably Daniel too. And Istanbul is a very mystic place to know. There are a lot of things. I'm just thinking of what to tell, but apart from the Istanbul, where the continents meet, both Europe and Asia. So Asia Minor, Anatolia is actually end. So I'm on the Anatolian side, for example, Asian side, and the other side is continental Europe. Apart from that, there are some other trivia questions that I tell or show. One of that is this sailboat helps me explore that. There are chain of islands also at the coast of Istanbul in the southern side of it, not on the northern side where it actually looks Black Sea. And they are called, I'll tell you, okay, this is not going to be, it could be a trivia question, but what are they called? They are called Prince's Islands. And it's not princess, it's a Prince's Islands, which is the son of the king. So Istanbul was ruled by the Roman Empire, and the Eastern Roman Empire was the Byzantium Empire. Before it became named Istanbul, it was Constantinople. And at that time, the king said, okay, son, it's time for you to go, and I will give you these islands for you to kind of get rid of him, because there was a conflict of interest at the end of the ruling. So I find this interesting information where when we go sail on the weekend to our guests, I tell this story. So I wanted to share it over here. It's called Princess Island, a series of 7 islands, 4 main islands with, there's some people living in, and few of them are not occupied.
Okay, cool. Well, like hopefully I've never had a chance to go visit Turkey, but hopefully I'll get a chance to go visit Istanbul and go hit the water on the sailboat. So looks
Hopefully.
lovely. Yeah,
You're
cool.
welcome to.
All right. Yeah. All right. Ibrar, like Dubai, like I think people have a lot of perception of Dubai being a very like a glitzy place, but I mean, tell us something about Dubai that you want to share.
Yep. First, actually, I want to say that for Istanbul, I have many time in Istanbul. I really enjoyed Istanbul with, I think, Alkin was the host of that show sometimes. So that Istanbul was good. And I want to say that before Dubai, I'm based in, previously I was based in Pakistan. I was born in Pakistan, Islamabad, which is my home country, actually, you can say that. So since last 2 years, I am in Dubai now. And what you think about Dubai? People usually think about the buildings, the Burj Khalifa, the Burj Al Arab, the highest building in the world, actually. That's a Burj Al Khalifa. So that people are using it, is it in the downtown. So you go there, people usually go there, have a pictures and something like that with the dancing fountains and the other kind of stuff. So my son also joined the PG actually 2 months ago. So he's also with me in, yeah. So he was told me just let's go to have a skydiving in Dubai. So in Dubai, you can do everything. So if you everything, but what you lack in Dubai, it's the greenery. They have some greenery, but it's all about the buildings, the tall buildings, the hot temperature, and the good shopping malls and the good hotels, and for the shopping, it's heaven for the shopping people. So if you go for the shopping, Dubai is the best part, because, and the most importantly, in Dubai there is no income tax. There is zero income tax. Whatever you earn is you can take at your home. So you don't have to pay tax to the government on your salary, and that's the most beautiful thing.
All right.
Good information.
Cool. Yeah, good to know. So awesome. Well, it was great having you both, and thanks for talking to us, talking through your book, and hopefully we'll have our audience members have the chance to check it out, and look forward to seeing both of you at one of the open source conferences pretty soon in the near future. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye now.